Today in our lineup on the Now, wild hog populations are out of control across the country. The new push to stop the hundreds of millions of dollars in damage they're causing each year. And these aren't your typical robots. Why one university thinks modeling them after snakes and cockroaches will help save lives. Also, you may be considering refinancing your home with the rates so low right now. You're not alone on this, and that rush is causing lenders to make changes to deal with the demand. How you can make sure you're getting the best deal.
All right, thank you for joining us here on the Now Indy this afternoon. We're looking from the IMS Pagoda, a little bit of a hazy sky out there, and tonight we could have a little bit of that patchy fog that hangs around. We've had the cloud cover throughout the day, but we remain dry here across central Indiana. You can see there have been some breaks in the cloud cover, especially for you around Bedford and Seymour, but those clouds filling back in. Our temperature right now, 46 degrees. There's that wind. It's been fairly light for a change. We've had a very breezy month of March so far, and temperatures right now generally sitting in the 40s. You're at 51 though in the Bedford area, and we will see those temperatures kind of fluctuate here a little bit as we go through the next several hours. May drop off initially and then kind of come back up a couple of degrees here as we'll start to change those winds more of a southerly direction and keep the cloudy skies in place. As we go into tomorrow, it is March and we're starting to get into severe weather season here. We do have, as we go into tomorrow evening, a marginal risk of severe weather from around Martinsville, Shelbyville, through Bloomington, Columbus, Nashville, Bedford, and Seymour all tomorrow, which means we'll have some isolated severe storm potential. We'll have much more on that in a few minutes. Amanda?
Thanks, Kyle. The coronavirus COVID-19 continues to impact lives. Troy Washington is working for you to explain why one woman currently living in a rehab center says trying to minimize risk could actually be impacting her overall health.
Jennifer Helms might miss doctor's appointments because of the rules right now at University Heights Health and Living Community.
They said, nope, you're not going. And they scratched out all the appointments that I had written on the paper. They said I could go to see my surgeon and the infectious disease doctor.
The thought of missing Thursday's appointment almost brings her to tears.
I really need to see these doctors. I have to wait months to get in to see them.
Helms has been living at the rehabilitation center since having surgery in February. She's scheduled to stay through March, but she says restrictions due to COVID-19 keeps causing her added stress.
They let me go to church last Sunday, and I can't go to church now.
She can't fathom missing even one Sunday away from the women of her church, but right now she has no choice.
Those women have been my rock while I've been going through like serious illness after serious illness, and they've gotten me through.
Starting Tuesday, the Living Community started taking extra precautions to reduce the potential of the coronavirus appearing. Helms' friend Tammy Tucker found out about the change being mandated by Medicare and Medicaid services the hard way.
I went in to visit, and the lady opened the door, but then she shut the door on me.
She stopped by to see her friend. She says employees would only talk with her through a window, and she wasn't sure what was going on.
Because when she first opened the door, she was telling me that she would take my temperature, and I'm okay, no problem. I get all that.
For now, only members of residents on hospice are being allowed in, and even they must pass screening criteria.
It was scary. I waited a little bit, and it just came to me, there's no way I'm going to get to come in and see Jennifer. So I might as well leave.
Numerous senior living communities across the city have made the decision to put restrictions in place to protect those with compromised immune systems from the virus. Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
We recently told you about American senior communities who decided to implement similar restrictions for their communities. Organizers of the Music for All National Festival say the show will go on despite concerns about coronavirus. Some parents of children participating in the festival had urged officials to postpone the entire event. While organizers understand those concerns, they say the festival will proceed as planned. And rehearsals for the National Honor Ensembles are already underway. That's fine with some families who've already arrived here from as far away as Texas. We caught up with one chaperone at Indianapolis International who tells us the kids with her are doing their due diligence to stay healthy.
We're doing the hand sanitizing very, very often, and each one of the kids is very conscious about keeping their hands on and using the restroom and washing their hands for 20 seconds.
And organizers say they continue to monitor the situation and to follow procedures recommended by the CDC and the State Department of Health. The Music for All National Festival runs from tomorrow through Saturday.
In response to coronavirus, some senators are calling on the Trump administration to focus more on help for people and less on big corporations. They're proposing several bills aimed at immediate relief, including an emergency provision for paid sick leave. So during a public health declaration, workers can get 2 weeks off.
Right now, experts are telling people stay home if you're sick. But for too many people, staying home from work means losing a paycheck or losing their job. And that has to change, and it has to change fast.
Democratic leader Senator Chuck Schumer says he expects the House to pass some of these bills this week. The Society for Human Resource Management says the debate over paid sick leave isn't anything new. But because of the coronavirus, we're seeing more organizations look into options. That includes short-term disability or sick leave sharing. For example, a manager may choose to give part of their sick leave to a staff member that doesn't have it. That way, non-exempt workers don't jeopardize their livelihood or the rest of the workforce.
That they have to weigh the difference between keeping or paying someone to stay home and help them get healthy against whether or not they want them in the workplace and operating and jeopardizing the operation as a whole.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 7 in 10 low-wage workers don't have paid sick leave. Uber is offering new measures for drivers who get coronavirus or may need to quarantine. The rideshare company will provide up to 2 weeks of financial assistance. Meanwhile, the head of the TSA is standing by its agency's decision to not provide health insurance for part-time workers. He said there is no plan to reinstate their coverage either. A TSA officer has tested positive for coronavirus. There are now under 100 workers quarantined for possibly coming into contact with that officer. They will be paid during the quarantine period. Back to our lineup. You may be considering refinancing your home with the rates so low right now. You're not alone, and that rush is causing lenders to make changes to deal with the demand. How to make sure you're getting the best deal.
Super Slam is back. See you at Denny's.
From before they're born till they enter the classroom, Indiana's children are fighting against the odds. Our state ranks near the bottom in key factors like infant mortality and child abuse. Tonight, Call 6 Investigates will share with you the stories behind the statistics in a special report, Protecting Who's Your Kids. That's tonight at 7 here on WRTV 6.
Owning a home is still very much part of the American dream, but more than 3/4 of Americans say their mortgage payments are too high, keeping them from saving any or more money. That's according to Bankrate. A lot of people are considering refinancing now with rates hitting record lows recently, but the extreme surge in refinance applications and a volatile market due to the coronavirus are causing interest rates to go back up.
You know, a crush of business coming in can mean that, yes, lots of applications get placed, but no customers get served to their satisfaction. So lenders defensively price for a little bit of a time just to kind of meter that business on the way in.
Keith Gumbinger is with mortgage information website hsh.com. He says it's likely once the current refinance applications get served, lenders will likely pass along lower rates a little more evenly. Rather than fretting about 1/10 of an interest point, Gumbinger says, come up with your goals for refinance. Get your existing mortgage paperwork and financial statements ready. Go to your current lender first because the process will be faster, more streamlined. But get multiple quotes, especially within your local area.
Make your decisions beforehand. When you call a lender, it's very different calling and saying, I'd like to refinance with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 3.25%, and I don't want to pay more than $4,000 in fees. That's a very different statement than calling and saying, I think I need a mortgage, I want to refinance.
Some things to consider before refinancing beyond the interest rate. What are the short and long-term costs, and what's the length of the loan? HSH has several calculators on their website you can use to compare refinance options that can show you the cheapest route. Ahead in our lineup, a look at how the wild hog population is wreaking havoc across the country.
The animals are huge, they're very strong, they're very tough and resilient, they have large tusks and cutters.
We're looking at what's being done to try to control these animals that are causing hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. Coronavirus panic buying has led to some cases of price gouging and plenty of complaints. Consumer watchdog, the U.S. Public Interest Research Group, found that in February, the average price of surgical masks and hand sanitizer on Amazon were nearly 20% higher than the previous 3-month average.
There might be small increases for hand sanitizer as demand spikes, but when you're talking about an increase at times of 200, 300, 400%, or products selling for $400 for a small thing of hand sanitizer, that is someone taking advantage of someone's need.
It wasn't just third-party sellers on Amazon raising prices. U.S. PIRG found 1 in 6 products sold directly by Amazon saw price spikes of at least 50%. Price gouging laws vary by state, but it's typically considered when prices are 10 to 30% higher. Amazon says it's removed more than 1 million price gouged products and is working with state attorneys general to go after sellers. But U.S. PIRG's point is this was predictable and never had to happen.
And their attempts to play whack-a-mole by dealing with price gouging on a one-on-one basis is not sufficient to protect their consumers. And so they really need to get ahead of this by preventing price gouging from happening in the first place, by putting hard price caps in place on spikes.
There are price tracking tools like Keepa.com and CamelCamelCamel.com that you can use to see if a product price has spiked. U.S. PIRG also recommends paying attention to the unit price to see if it's more expensive. Amazon is removing the immediate buy box on products that might be price gouged. You can still purchase them, but if you don't see the buy box, look at the price carefully to make sure you're not being taken advantage of. You've heard the saying, everything's bigger in Texas. Well, so is the Lone Star State's problem with wild hogs. The invasive species has been wreaking havoc on the ecology and causing hundreds of millions of dollars in damage each year. In recent months, they've even become deadly. Usher Qureshi shows us the growing problem is in more than 30 states, with Texas bearing the brunt of it.
Heavy ammunition and an aerial advantage.
Helibacon flies around in helicopters and we kill feral pigs with machine guns.
It's an unfair advantage, but that's the point.
And I actually agree with that. In this particular case, the purpose is not to be fair. The objective is to kill as many of them as possible.
Chris Britt is the CEO and co-founder of Helibacon, a commercial aerial hog hunting business in southern Texas.
Really what we're doing is aerial wildlife management. When we are regularly hunting an area or a region, we can keep the feral hog population down in that area by 80, 85, sometimes 90%. From the farmer's perspective, they get a form of free pest control that they don't have to pay for.
Invasive feral hogs reproduce quickly, are extremely resilient, and are devastating the ecosystem. John Tomachek is a wildlife specialist at Texas A&M University.
Whether we're talking soils, water, agriculture, wildlife, whatever it is, they're incredibly destructive, and the system isn't built to tolerate them.
More than 6 million wild hogs are wreaking havoc in at least 35 states, causing $2.5 billion in damage annually, and half of the invasive swine are in Texas.
It's unlikely any single effort will completely eradicate the problem. This is just one tool that's being used to manage it.
Absent chemical controls, aerial and land hog hunting in Texas is legal year-round. USDA also uses traps.
They're beginning to invade, suburban areas. They're spreading to other states, and so the population is getting bigger, and the problem is getting worse, not better.
Last month, a man wrangled this wild hog in his yard after it chased his 14-year-old daughter. And wildlife removal experts bagged a whopping 488-pound feral pig outside Houston just 2 weeks ago.
The animals are huge. They're very strong. They're very tough and resilient. They have large tusks and cutters.
Human confrontations are extremely rare, but in November, feral hogs attacked and killed 59-year-old Christine Rollins outside a home in eastern Texas.
These pigs carry 12 different diseases, more or less, that you and I can catch. And so for us, from a health and safety perspective, it's a growing concern.
For now, with no natural predators, it's up to the hunters and trappers to try and keep these invasive pigs under control. Big Hog. Reporting from Texas, I'm Usher Qureshi.
The beauty of nature, color, and light all come together next week at the Indianapolis Zoo. Starting March 20th, you can enjoy more than 40 different kinds of butterflies at the Butterfly Kaleidoscope exhibit in Hilbert Conservatory. Each day, newly hatched butterflies will be released into the conservatory, turning the space into a tropical paradise. Now, this exhibit ends in September. It's got to be beautiful, Kyle.
Yeah, we'll start to get in on more of our tropical-like paradise. Trees are going to be blooming here very soon, but out there right now it's very gray with those temperatures in the 40s, 48 in Bloomington, 46 in Indy. Temperatures are not going to fall very much tonight as we'll have a light wind and cloudy skies. 42 the temperature as we start off our Thursday. More clouds around the area, but warmer. Temperatures will be close to 60 at noon, 64 the high. And then as we get into the evening, that chance for rain and a few thunderstorms. Again, we've got that marginal risk tomorrow evening around Martinsville, toward Franklin, into Bedford and Seymour as well. So we could see a couple of isolated strong to severe storms. Here's a look at TrueCast 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. A couple of those showers starting to break out there. As we go through the evening hours, by 7 o'clock in the evening, you can see some of those stronger thunderstorms, especially south of I-70. So we will be keeping a very close eye on that. Make sure you got that free Storm Shield app ready to go for any alerts that are issued. And then we'll see that pushing off to the east. Get under a thunderstorm. Could see a quick quarter to half inch of rainfall for us. It gets colder on Friday. Those temperatures only going to make their way into the 40s, and it will be breezy as well. Next few days of the forecast, even a rain-snow mix on Saturday, Sunday, dry and 46.
Checking the Now news feed, a former Olympian has settled a lawsuit with USA Swimming. Ariana Cooker-Smith sued, saying she was abused by a former coach. The terms of the settlement were not released. There's new hope for HIV treatments. A study published on Tuesday says the second person who was reported to have been cured of the virus is still virus-free 2 years later. Researchers say this could be a big boost for the stem cell therapy that was used on the patient. Inflation continues to be relatively small. According to new numbers from the Labor Department, prices for consumers went up 0.1 percentage point last month. Clothing and used cars among the products seeing increases. When you think of robots, you might think of big, clunky pieces of machinery. But at one university, using snakes and cockroaches, they are developing new, more nimble robots. And their goal is to save lives. Maya Rodriguez has the story.
In looking for creative inspiration, student Chuan Fu finds it in this box.
We can definitely learn something from them.
This is a king snake, native to deserts in California and Mexico. And this is the robot based on it, developed in a mechanical engineering lab at Johns Hopkins University.
So we added this one-directional wheel so that it can only rotate in one direction.
The snake robot and its colleague, the roach robot, are so-called bio-inspired robots, taking their cues from Mother Nature.
We study snakes here because they are exceptionally good at moving through almost any terrain.
Professor Chen Li says it's an idea with practical applications. The robots could potentially help in search and rescue by making their way through tight spaces to find people trapped in rubble.
People have actually tried to build snake robots for several decades.
But in the past, the robots fell short once they left the lab environments, unable to make it through different types of terrain. This time, using specially positioned cameras, they've observed how the snakes and roaches move across different surfaces and attempted to mimic what nature already does so well.
What's really unique about our work is that we focus on understanding the physical principles, starting by looking at animals, and then by understanding such principles, we can apply them to the robots.
The snakes have 200 vertebrae. The robot has 20 segments. Progress, these engineers say, with more to go.
There's still going to be a lot of challenges ahead.
In Baltimore, I'm Maya Rodriguez reporting.
Next in the lineup, the number of people living with Alzheimer's is expected to nearly triple by 2050. We're looking into new concerns that doctors aren't ready for this and what it means for your care.